Welcome to the Prosperity Profiles Podcast, sponsored by Prosperity Profilers, LLC. They'll help you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. We hope you listen often, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. Now, here's your host, four-time #1 best-selling author, speaker, and business coach, Holly Porter.
Hello, and welcome today. I have a fabulous guest who is another male. You know, we haven't had a lot of male guests on our show, and there's not really a reason for that. It's just we've had all these authors and they happen to be part of a women's book series. And so I get excited when we get to shift it up a little bit, and we're starting out the new year. And I am so thrilled to have Dr. Richard B. Greene with us today. How are you?
Hey, welcome. I'm great, Holly, and thank you. Appreciate that introduction, and I appreciate being, amongst an elite group of few males that have been on your show. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, in 2019, I will have more. It just worked out that way. There was no particular, rhyme or reason to it other than I wanted my authors to shine because they were all in #1 bestsellers, and I wanted them to make sure, they got more visibility. So we had them on the show. And that being said, I want to just read a little bio about you so that our listeners can understand and get a feel a little bit more of what you're about. So Dr. Greene's experience spans more than 30 years as a corporate sales executive across many different industries. He's an author, a business coach, and an entrepreneur. As a researcher into the field of human potential, he studied success factors of those that are the top of their industries and develop systems that professionals use to create unparalleled success in their careers and in their personal lives. Dr. Greene observed that having talent and skills did not guarantee success. He discovered that the missing ingredient is a mindset that is creative, powerful, and unstoppable. After years of research working with the IronMan triathletes to understand how they achieve success against great odds, he's been able to capture this unique mind ability to incorporate it into the live elite executive training program called IronMan Mind. Applied properly, IronMan Mind techniques can transform your mind into a powerful tool that, combined with the right skills, can make your success unstoppable. I love this.
Well, thanks. I think you just said it all for me. So
I know, I love it. Well, let's talk about that, because first of all, I'm jealous of anyone who could even contemplate doing an Ironman, let alone do it.
Well, let me tell you something. So I'm not a spring chicken, and it is, and I'm also not the most talented athlete, but I managed to carry myself across that finish line. And for those of your listeners who don't know what an Ironman triathlon is, let me just share, a few details about it. It's a pretty long day. It starts with a 2.4-mile swim. And then when you're done with that, you hop on your bike and you ride 112 miles. And then when you're done with that, you get off your bike and you run a marathon. And so it's 140.2 miles. And as I said, it's a long day. You typically have 16 to 17 hours to finish it. And, there's been times when I pushed that deadline. But I always managed to cross the finish line. And that's actually part of the story. That's actually part of that experience, is part of what I'm able to bring to the people that I work with, the executives that I coach and the salespeople that I coach. And so it's sort of a unique mindset that I teach.
So are you saying that if somebody's not doing an Ironman, you can still coach them to shift their mind just about life stuff rather than to do an actual Ironman?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because you don't have to do an Ironman to have the right mindset. Yeah, I know most people are not as crazy as that, and but it's interesting. And if I may, I'd love to just for a few minutes, tell a story about how I came to this Ironman mindset, and then why I decided to incorporate it into my sales and business coaching.
Absolutely. My listeners love stories, so.
Okay, so here goes. It really started when I did my very first Ironman. Now I got kind of started late in life with this, and I was 51 when I decided to take on this whole Ironman thing. And I'd never run a triathlon before. In fact, before I did the Ironman, I had done 2 very short triathlons. But I'm a type A, and I just decided that this was something I wanted to do and a challenge that I wanted to take on, and so I did it. And the place that I chose to do this very first Ironman, I chose because it was beautiful, and I thought that the weather would be really pleasant, and all the conditions would be perfect for my very first time. And it was in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and it was just a beautiful place. Yeah, isn't it gorgeous?
Love it there.
So the race happens around that lake and around the area, and unfortunately, that particular day that I had the race, they had a 50-year temperature high. It was 108 degrees.
Oh my
And
God.
and so about 23% of the people that started the race didn't finish, and over 500 people ended up in the hospital. And it was horrible because athletes were just dropping and getting sick by the roadside. And, and that was working on my mind too, as I was doing this race. And there's a whole bunch of stories about, the 16 hours and 37 minutes it took me to complete it and cross the finish line. But that's not really the part that I want to be able to share with your listeners. The part that I found the most amazing, that changed my perspective on everything, and that has been so helpful to the people that I work with, was what I found the next day. Because the next day I was at the airport, and we all have our, as an Ironman triathlete, we all have our numbers written on our arms, and on our calves, our ages are written. Yeah, and so if you're shy about your age, this is probably not a good sport to be in. But I had a big 5'1" there on my, on my calf. This is 5 years ago. I had a big 5'1" on my calf, and I saw another athlete at the airport. He was checking in, and he had his numbers, and I could see that he was 25 years younger than me. And I thought, well, surely he had a good day. And so I went up and said, how did it go? Wasn't that fantastic? Wasn't that tough? And he looked, kind of sad. And I said, what's wrong? He said, I didn't make it.
Oh.
And I said, what happened? He said, I was getting sick. I was throwing up and I was getting sick, and I just felt like I couldn't go on. So I continued to question him some more, and I found out that he only had 6 miles left to go on the marathon piece. And he had 2 hours left to do it. Now, I walked away from that conversation, and we talked for a little bit longer, but I walked away from the conversation, and I thought to myself, 6 miles in 2 hours, I would have crawled to get across the finish line, because he had probably been at the 15-hour mark, and he'd already suffered for 15 hours, and he only had 6 miles to go. And it struck me then, because here's this guy who's 25 years younger. I found out that this wasn't his first Ironman. He'd done lots of them before.
Wow.
And he also ran an 8-minute mile. Now I ran a 15.5-minute mile. So he was younger, stronger, faster, and he didn't make it.
Wow.
He didn't cross the finish line. And it's then that I realized that talent and skill and all of those other things sometimes are not enough to carry you across the finish line. Yep. It's the mindset. And I realized that, I was a little older, and I had developed in the business world this success mindset. And I realized that's what helped me cross the finish line. It was my business experience that helped me in my athletics.
Right.
And then I thought, I can take this mindset and reapply it to my business life and the things that I do with others, and make an incredible difference. And you know what? That began a 2-year journey of research, and I interviewed over 100 Ironman triathletes, both professionals and amateurs, and I came up with 10 mindset principles that I apply in my coaching. And so now I've got this formula that I teach people that's a combination of skills and mindset. And together, they create this unstoppable success formula.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's pretty cool. It was very exciting.
That's amazing. Well, you and I met at Katrina Sawa's event just
We did.
the last
Yeah.
couple months ago. That was amazing. She's great. I love Katrina. She's a tell it like it is and kick your butt.
Yes, she is.
and I can relate to that totally. But so what shoe were you? So I had given you one of my books in box out box.
You did. You did. In fact, I pulled out. I was looking through it again because I took the test and I was a dress shoe and a boot. They were equal, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
We don't need to do an analysis, on this podcast what that is. Actually, people need to come to you because it's really and take that test because it's really fascinating.
Yeah, it's fun, and I see both of those in you. So that's a structure and a fun personality. So that's really fun. But yeah, it was great to meet you. So we've actually only known each other a couple months, but I was really impressed, by you at the event, and so I thought you would make a great guest on the podcast, as you are. And I love that story that you told. That's really good. People, because the book's mindset is what I was going to say. It's all about mindset too, about
It is.
really put ourselves in the box. There is no box. And that's what I teach as well, is mindset to get out of the box. And so I love that you have this formula that you've created and the data to back it up with all the other, triathletes, because anyone that can run even a marathon, let alone a Ironman or a triathlon, wow, it amazes me because I'm not a runner. I mean, I was a sprinter in high school.
I'll give you a little secret. At 15 and a half minutes, I'm not a runner either, but I'm able to, to cross that finish line. And here's the thing I want to press upon your listeners. You don't have to do that in order to have the right mindset. You just have to have the formula. And the great thing about, I spent those 2 years researching, and then I spent the next 3 years actually implementing it and working successfully with salespeople and business professionals.
Yeah.
So yes, I've seen it work, and it's phenomenal. It just allows people to accelerate. And I don't want to use the whole 10 times thing because that seems to be so overused, but you're going to get exponential growth and multiple results from having that right mindset and having the right skill sets and having the process to follow.
Okay. So as a business coach, because ultimately that's what you do, you apply all these more techniques that you work with your clients.
I do. Yeah, I do. Actually, if I may, and we talked about it, the book that I came out with is the IronMan Mind Sales Success Formula. And so what I've done in that book is I've taken the 50 strategic tips, things that I figure worked very well, that I've developed over 30 years as a sales professional, and I combine those with the 10 mindset principles. And then to get in, not everybody uses all 50 of those tips, and not everybody uses, all 10 of the mindset principles, but they can select the ones that work best for them and create their own custom success formula. And so that's what I do. I actually use that as a guide. And then when we work individually with people, we do an assessment and we figure out what's the best combination, what's the best custom formula for them.
Well, yeah, because everyone has a different personality style. And so something that works for somebody may not work for somebody else. So
Exactly. Not everybody is a dress shoe and a boot, right?
That is true. There's combos everywhere. So we all got to do what works. I know you had talked about sharing a special gift to our listeners. You want to share that?
You know what, I would. Thank you. And so I pulled the book out, and so I'll put it back up here again. This is a paperback book, and I'd love to offer it at no charge, a free paperback book to your listeners. And so I've set up a website that they can go to and just get access to that. And so that website is www.IronManMind. Let's make sure we got that correctly. It's IronSalesSuccessBook.com. IronSalesSuccessBook.com.
And we'll post that in the show notes as well down below so they can snag it in case they're driving and listening, because I know a lot of people, they're exercising while they're listening to podcasts and they're driving in the car or running kids to school, whatever it is you're doing.
Right.
You know that you can go back and snag that. And I hope you get it, because I'm going to. I think it'll be great. I don't have it.
Well, it's great. It's a great offer. And, you know, my staff will pop the book in the mail to you, and it should get to you in just a few days. And, you know, I'd be really excited to hear from your listeners about how they liked the book and what they used, and, you know, what their favorite tips were. And so if I may, I'll just also give my email address and just tell them to reach out to me. It's rich@ironmanmind.com. So just feel free to, you know, once you read the book, and if you have any questions as well, just send me an email to rich@ironmanmind.com, and I'll look forward to connecting.
Yeah, and listeners, just so you know, when people are giving away things like that, you know, they're coming from a servant heart. And, you know, a great way to repay them is to send them a little message, a thank you, or, you know, this was great and this is why I liked it. I mean, I always want to know the why. Like, I helped you, but how did it help you? Because that helps us in our future to be able to serve even better. Because if we know why or how it helps somebody, then we can create more products that'll help more people, right?
Right, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. So I mean, these, you know, the things that you and I do are based upon what we hear from people and what they need the most. And so.
Well, why do we want to waste our time creating things or writing books that nobody wants, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We want to serve as best as we can when we're serving people. So anyway, just a little tip. Just make sure you grab the book. Do read it, number one. Number two, message, and I'm sure you can find Richard on Facebook as well, and send him a message.
You can go to Ironman Business Coach on Facebook. That's our Facebook page, or you can go to my webpage, which is ironmanmind.com. Either of those is a great place to connect. You're going to get I've got lots of articles and lots of free stuff and lots of stuff to help you grow. If you're a business professional or you're a sales professional, that's what I'm all about, just helping those folks.
Okay, so I have another question for you. So what types of things do you help business people with?
Wow, you know, it really ranges the gamut. I was just having a conversation with somebody yesterday, because I've been asked to speak to at a women's group at a very large corporation. And one of the topics that came up was time management. And I know that sounds like it's such an overused or area that seems to be a lot of information on, and people still struggle with it. And so I know why people still struggle with it. It's actually something that, and if I may, I'll just tell you, it's one thing that is the one thing that was created, one technology that was created that is the greatest piece of information technology in the history of mankind. And it is also the number one thing that causes people to be incredibly unproductive. And that is this mobile device right here. So I know, it's just, you know, because people sometimes become digital slaves to it. Okay. So I find myself oftentimes working with really very experienced executives in their 40s and their 50s that are accomplished, but seem to be struggling with how to manage their day. And so I just have a few very simple techniques that they can employ and use, and it makes all the difference in the world. So that's one thing. You know, people come to me for a variety of reasons. They want to increase their sales, or maybe they want to start a new business, or maybe they're having a certain challenge with a customer and they need to figure out how to break past that. And so we do lots of different things.
Well, I'm a little annoyed at not Facebook, whoever, Apple, whoever, that tells me how many hours of screen time every week, every Sunday. I'm like, really? The new update does that now, and I don't want to know how many hours I bet on my phone. I don't need to be reminded. I do my business on there, right?
Well, you know what the funny thing is?
6 hours this week. I'm thinking, wow, that's it.
You called it a phone, but it's really a mobile device. And that mobile device, only 24% of it is used for phone calls.
I know.
It's amazing.
It's like, well, it's just a mini computer. That's it.
It is. Yeah, it's a mini computer that's more powerful than the computer that took the astronauts to the moon.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Sometimes I grab mine even when I'm on my computer, because whatever I'm doing on my computer, it's faster. You know what I mean? You can just get something done faster. And the platforms are different, but So that's great. I love that, the time management thing. I think that's a great thing. And, you know, Richard does speak. So if anybody's listening and is looking for a speaker, you can contact him and reach out to him to come and speak to your group, because I know you speak small, large, corporate, entrepreneur.
Yep.
Right? Anyone that
I
wants
do. And I appreciate you mentioned that. And again, go to my website, IronManMind.com, and go to the speakers page, and you can get more information about, what I do and the topics that I speak on.
Okay, well, just to wrap up, so we've got all that. They'll have the information in the show notes. Anything left on your heart that you want to share? Closing words, wisdom?
I just want to, I guess the biggest thing I want to press upon people is that the world and the things that you can accomplish, you'd be amazed if you've got the right mindset. So the challenges that you're going to face in life, don't look upon them as hurdles in the road. Look upon them as part of the road. And if you do that, you realize that those challenges are meant to help you to grow. And then once you overcome them, the reward at the other end will be even sweeter. I think it makes all the difference in the world. So go out there, create unstoppable success for yourself. And Holly, thanks so much for having me as a guest on your podcast.
Thanks so much for joining us. And I hope all of you listening to those great nuggets he just gave you will really sit on that and really, put that to work. Because if you can do what he just said and put it into your life, it'll be so much more productive, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us again. We will see you at another day of the podcast, and bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Prosperity Profiles Podcast, sponsored by Prosperity Profilers, LLC, helping you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. We hope you enjoyed our time together, and we'll visit again soon. You can learn more about Prosperity Profilers by going to hollyporter.com.